we have mentioned concerns the controversy surrounding the various understandings of the nature of Christ. There was an equally vehement dispute around what is called the filioque clause, which is, "and the Holy Spirit, who proceedeth from the Father and from the Son." This addition of the Son's participation in the Holy Spirit's existence was gradually introduced starting in the 6th century. It is accepted only in the Western Church. To my knowledge, the Eastern Church still rejects it as a theological error. Thus the controversy continues, though in the last decade there has been work to find common ground. Theological aspects: we have touched on the historical aspects of the development of this doctrine, but what of the psychological and theological? The Trinity, 115 aspects. John Hick, H.G. Wood, professor of theology at Birmingham University, and editor of The Myth of God Incarnate, attributes the development of the Trinity doctrine to a human tendency to exalt the religion's founder beyond his true identity. As mentioned in Chapter 4, he finds a parallel in the Buddhist Trinitarian doctrine that was never preached by Buddha. Hick sums up the doctrine of the Trinity as follows. Returning, then, to the theme of the exaltation of a human being to divine status, the understanding of Jesus, which eventually became Orthodox Christian dogma, sees him as God the Son incarnate, the second person of the Trinity living a human life. As such he was, in the words of the Nicene Creed, the only begotten Son of God, begotten of the Father before all ages, light of light, true God of true God, begotten not made, of one substance with the Father. But this is far from anything that the historical Jesus can reasonably be supposed to have thought or taught. The expression God the Son, an important component of the Trinity, is never found in the Gospels. John Hick points out that as Christian theology grew through the centuries, it made the very significant transition from Son of God to God the Son, the second person of the Trinity. Ibid. p. 175. The concept of Trinity as an innovation was illustrated well by Michael Goulder, who was staff tutor in theology at Birmingham University. I went to visit a patient in hospital. I had to wait, and was shortly joined by two further Christian ministers, the one a Congregationalist, the other, in my opinion at the time, of an even lower breed, completely without the law. There being nothing else to do, we fell naturally to theological disputation, and in the course of time the sister was somewhat startled to come in as my Congregationalist friend was saying, "Well, one thing is certain. He didn't think he was the second person of the Trinity." I found the remark doubly annoying, partly because I had always supposed that Jesus thought he was the second person of the Trinity, although wisely not mentioning the fact, and now it was said, it somehow had the ring of the obvious. And partly also I did not relish being enlightened by a minister not of the established church. Ibid. p. 48116. Development of the Christian doctrine. The conclusion that Jesus did not consider himself to be part of the Trinity seems well documented in the Gospels, as discussed in Chapter 3, for if Jesus did not see himself as divine, he could not have seen himself as part of the Trinity. As an example, let's look again at Matthew 7:21. Please note that, as mentioned before, the 1970 edition of the New American Bible for the following verse is even stronger, saying that none of those who cry, "Lord, Lord," will enter God's kingdom. Emphasis added, "Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father in heaven." Matthew 7:21. New American Bible. It may be helpful also to look at what is in more recent scripture. The Quran